Welcome, friends. Happy Monday. Another live chat. We're going to do a story chat with myself, Sergio. Welcome. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And now we're going to get into some story topics that we, on occasion we talk about. And I think they're all really good things to hit on. And I want to talk about this one, which is going to be your work-life balance and concentration when it comes to doing storyboards and art. This is a topic that I think comes up a lot with artists, that we tend to lose our focus, and we need a certain, let's say, a certain drive and a push and inspiration to sometimes get our projects off the ground and really be productive. So I want to talk a little bit about that stuff. Also, taking your story questions. So if you have anything that is on your mind that you want to bring up with the group or myself, well, this is the place to do it. We're going to make some good collaboration, some good networking as we always do with these chats, and exchange some info, and hopefully give you some insight on what you need to do to give yourself a boost in the industry, and also make contacts, make money, have fun, do your stories, all that good stuff. Okay, so a couple of announcements right off the bat. If you've been following us for a while at Storyboard Art, we like to do a lot of cool sponsored things. And one of the things that we got going on right now, of course, I've said it many times, is the visual story course. So that's a free course that we have up right now. It's kind of to get people inaugurated into visual storytelling. And we send you through a series of 5 lessons. And you get to do assignments after each one of those lessons. So this week and last week, we've been telling our users that we have a special guest coming, Pixar veteran Nick Sung, who's been with us before. We've had him on an event. He has been very generous to offer his time to come back and be a guest presenter and guest critique some of the work that's going on in the visual story course. So hopefully you've heard of this before, but today is actually the last day for you guys in the visual story course to submit your work, because we need to give Nick enough time to look at that and be able to comment. We're going to be hosting him on a live stream this weekend, Saturday, June 20th. At 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And that way, we're going to go over a lot of this work. It's going to be a lot of fun. Nick has a wonderful drawing style. His experience on movies and everything in general, what he's been doing lately, has just been fantastic. So I highly encourage you guys just to check it out. And we have a lot of submissions so far, which is fantastic. So if you want to get your stuff in, you still can. Now we're going to choose just randomly some of those, because we're not going to be able to get to all of them. But the benefit here is that you're going to get to hear feedback from a veteran, a Pixar veteran, and he's been on many other projects. He's worked at Nike and Airbnb, and he's worked in Europe on different feature productions. And so he's a super seasoned story artist. And to get his feedback, even if you haven't been chosen, I think is ultra valuable. We're going to go live with this, and then we're also going to, for those of you who can't make the live event, we're going to record it, and you guys get to see the replay. So you'll see that on our social media. So that's the big announcement for today. Certainly, if you want to hear about more of these events, you want to come to our webpage, sign up, make sure that you can sign up for free. You can make a profile, we get your email, and we send you these cool events that you're probably not going to see very many other places, because we like to keep it awesome when it comes to story. All right, so let me get into this topic of real quick. And of course, if you guys have any questions at any time, go ahead and throw those out there, and we'll tack them and see if we can get to the bottom of any doubts that you have in the industry. So a couple of things that happen. Let's start out with concentration. This has actually come up. This is a question that has come up a lot with focus and just being able to really get inspired and complete your work, because I think this happens especially for you guys out there who are freelancers or working on your own or doing your own projects, and you don't have anybody cracking the whip or setting production schedules and keeping you on point and on task for these things. Because the one thing that's going to keep your concentration in focus is a deadline. That is universal always. And so this problem of loss of concentration and focus, it doesn't happen in the studio system, let me tell you. Because if you lose your concentration and focus, you get fired, my friends. You get cut. That's what happens. And if you don't make the deadline, and if you don't turn in your work, and it's not up to par in quality, you're not going to last very long on the production. That's the reality. Okay. So what you have to do is, and what ends up happening invariably, you got producers, you got other support people, you got production guys that are telling you, hey, you got to turn this in here. There's check-ins along the way. You're checking in with your director, you're checking in with the whole story crew. You're getting updates for your scripts, and then so you're on a schedule. You're reminded daily about what you have to do, and that's why it's actually easy to keep on task. It's easy to focus in your concentration, and you still lose focus. Let me tell you, many times I've been in like this story rut where I don't know how to solve the problem, and so a lot of things I do, you have to snap out of it really quickly. Okay, especially on tight deadlines. Sometimes on feature work, you have a little more extended deadline. You can take a long lunch or take a walk in the afternoon or get a coffee or something. But you should be thinking about story. You should be thinking about the process and what to do. But when it comes down to actually getting the work done, when the deadline is ticking, you have to put pencil to paper, so to speak, or create your digital work, and you get down and you put the afterburners on and you produce. And so the easiest thing to get out of that rut is actually to sit down and draw and do it, no matter what comes out. No matter even if it's absolute crap, you have to throw it away. That first pass is what's going to unlock and break the ice and gonna push you through that barrier, and you just keep going. The first one comes out, it's garbage. Let's say you really didn't have any ideas coming out. You could show it to a coworker. You could maybe turn it into your director and ask for feedback, and they're going to give you some advice to how to push it. Then you go and you correct it. But that first pass, you get that out of the way, and that's the easiest and fastest way to get to the second pass and the third pass, and you're going to finally be able to jumpstart your ideas and creativity that way. That's the wonderful way of a studio system. It works wonders. You get things done. It's amazing the amount of production that you can produce, like the amount of work that you're able to produce. I sometimes surprise myself how many boards, just because I had to. It was just like, you got to get it done, and it gets done. It gets done magically because you just have to do it. So that is one way to break the ice. Now, so let's say you're not in that environment. What ends up happening invariably, that self-discipline is so hard, and if you're anything like me, you're easily distracted by, especially if you're working at home. Certainly, like the house is a huge distraction. You got your TV, you got other people walking around. You might have some noise. It's not like an isolated place. So in an office environment, you are it's designed so you focus and you get down to work, right? In fact, the other thing that's really good about being in the office environment is that you are constantly being inspired by other people. You look around and everybody else has their nose to the grindstone, really cranking out some work. So you're like, man, I gotta keep up with this guy. And you sit down, and it's almost like this healthy competition that you want to do the best job possible. At home, you don't have that. So you have to create that environment for yourself. And the thing that I really recommend is that you also set deadlines and have an accountability partner or somebody who's going to push you and get you through that rut that you're in, the distractions that you're invariably going to have. Okay, so one thing you could do is you could present an idea if you're working on a comic or some kind of your own self-promotion. You can ask a friend, a trusted buddy, or maybe a significant other, a roommate, whoever you have around you, and you can ask them to look at what you're doing and hold you accountable. Say that I want to have this done by the end of the month, and that way at least the 30 days later you have a check-in and you say, well, what have you done? At least the person can ask you that, even if they're not an artist. It's okay, and then you show it. And if come on, let's be honest with ourselves. If you haven't produced anything in a month, then it's nothing, right? So that makes no sense. So yeah, I think. Let me give it a check. Let me do a quick check-in on Instagram. Let me know if my audio is working for you guys, because I want to make sure you can actually hear what I'm talking about. Otherwise, it's pointless. All right. Thanks for putting that in, by the way, by letting me know if my audio is good or not. So the other thing that I want to mention about what we're doing here is the concentration is one thing. The other one is getting inspired and actually having a balance with your artwork. Okay, Thanks, thanks, Ray. I'm glad you can hear me there. So, okay, so we talk a lot about this too, is work-life balance, right? How many times have you heard this like catchphrase, like what do you got to do? Now in the studio system, this usually applies. So it's like when I say studio system, it's like working in an office. You have like a steady gig that you got to show up somewhere. Even on lockdown days like with the coronavirus, you still probably have to produce and create work. So that forces you to have a deadline and keep on your work. The other thing is it can go so heavy on the work stuff and the deadlines are so intense that you end up sacrificing all of your personal time to get the job done and you don't have any time for yourself or even for your family. And then what happens is you get burned out. Okay. And I've been there. I think many of us as artists have been there. I mean, I've been a pro for like going on 20, 25 years now. And yeah, there's times where you give it your all, you grind, and then you feel like you've had enough, and so you get burned out, and you get over the project. So what happens at that time? It's not good to have that. You have to realize, one, that you're in that state. So if you're constantly stressed out, if your own personal life is a mess because of the way that you're working like that, that's not healthy. And I don't recommend anybody do that. And studios are mostly aware of this, and they'll help you out in those times. You also have to be aware of it and not just suck it up. You can actually tell somebody, be diplomatic about it, but also tell them, hey man, I'm getting burned out. I need a break. Maybe it's just taking a day off so you have an extra weekend day. Maybe it's taking a day off during the week, and then you figure out how you can work out the schedule. Oftentimes, all you need is just a little bit of a recharge, and then you could go back in with a lot more enthusiasm and really produce and be productive that way. Because if you're really tired and burned out, it's going to be difficult to stay on pace. Okay. So one thing that I recommend with the work-life balance in the studio system is keep yourself in check and on schedule. I think one of the main faults is that like we get distracted as artists, even in the studio environment or the office environment, and then you end up putting off the work that you have to do. You do it really slowly at first because you feel like you have enough time in the schedule, and then it catches up to you, and you end up having to crunch at the last 2 weeks to turn in your assignment, and that's also not very productive. So that's one recommendation: is you keep consistent every single day, that you work a consistent way. And it might be that sometimes you have to put in those extra hours. And so instead of working an 8-hour day and just not getting enough done, you set yourself your own quota for the amount of work that you have to do. And it's easy to kind of figure that out, because you'll usually get a number of script pages, or you have a certain amount of work that you have to turn in at a certain date. And so you just divide up that work by the number of days you have, and then you know how many boards you have to produce, or how much work you have to produce on a daily basis. It's not exactly an easy, like an easily divisible number. Sometimes you get like 11.3 or something like that. So just round it up. Basically, you got to turn in 12, let's say, story pitches, or storyboards or whatever that you're doing, story beat boards for that day, and then you stay consistent on that. And even like come clock out time, when it's like 7 o'clock or it's getting late, that if you haven't made that quota, you got to make up for it the next day, or you want to stay late till you completed that. Because if you get off track and you get off pace, you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna have to like spend your weekends going through it. You're gonna have to like burn the midnight oil and start working late at night. And so that is something that you really don't want to do, because that's what will cause you to have that burnout. Okay. Now, same thing goes if you're at home and you're working at, let's say, doing freelance or working on your own projects. Keep it consistent, but also don't get lazy about it. You want to stay inspired and keep consistent with this stuff. So I think I've said this before to you guys, and let me know if you have any suggestions here. But keep your distractions to a minimum, if possible, at home. So let's say you're at home. Do you have a isolated space that you can work at? Some people are working at their kitchen table because they don't have any more space. Okay. Some guys are like, they spread out in the living room, like in front of their TV or whatever, and there's not like a dedicated art desk. Or if you're at a computer, you have like a desk, or you're in an office room that you have. I remember for a long time, I lived in a small apartment with roommates, and in my own bedroom, I set up like an art area where there was my desk and I had my drawing table, and I was locked in my bedroom all the time working, but at least there was a space for me to work, and that helped. I wasn't like on my bed, like hunched over drawing and stuff. And uh, you can set breaks for yourself. Make sure you get out, have lunch. You might even like make yourself a coffee, or if you live close enough to like a coffee shop or Starbucks or something, you can just get a breath of fresh air throughout the day. That'll refresh you. Some things that I like to do is I'll go out in the middle of the day and get some exercise in. And especially now that it's summertime, it's great to go out in the sun. You actually see the daylight. Then you can come back in refreshed. I usually take a shower. That wakes me up during the day. So it was great when I was working at Lucasfilm and stuff, because they had a gym inside the studio, and it was just so much fun being there with other people. You could even play sports and stuff like that. So that keeps you kind of awake and inspired. And you could go back and you hit it hard in the afternoon. Okay. But the idea is you keep it consistent and you don't get distracted even if you're at home. So now a lot of people are on this like Corona lockdown. You might be there with your families. You might have young children. You might have even pets that will jump on your lap and distract you. So you got to try a way to keep that to a minimum, because what I don't recommend is that you get into this habit of working late into the night, which causes you to also wake up late, and then you feel a little bit groggy. It takes you a while to get going in the morning, and then it doesn't have that office environment discipline that you're going to have in the workspace. So if you're working in a studio environment, you kind of have to show up like around 9 o'clock. Some people clock in slightly later, around 10 or so, but that's probably about as late as you want to go, because you have to leave late if you do that. And I think the guys that I really got inspired by are the ones that woke up early, got in early, and also got out early, and they just got a lot of work done that way. And I think that's a really positive and smart way to work. So this is my last suggestion, and then we'll get into some of the questions, is wake up early. That is something that I've discovered late in my career, partly because of other coworkers that inspired me to do this. And I know guys that would wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. They sleep the same hours. They just time shift it. And so they go to bed early, they wake up early, and those morning hours where nobody's around, even in your own house. And I've been doing this recently, and it's a game changer, my friends. I really recommend this, that for those of you like artistic creatives who think you can only work at night, do it for a week. Time shift your thing, and be honest with yourself. If you are more productive because nobody's screwing with you, and you can be productive in the morning, you might find that you actually have more output and you're more awake, because your brain is firing on all cylinders when you're working those morning hours. And you might like wind down during the evening, because what I've found recently, especially because I've done a lot of late nights, man, working at 2 and 3 in the morning and pulling my share of all-nighters and stuff, I don't like it. I think it's not good for my health. It's not good for the productivity of the project. I'm not exactly like on point when I'm doing that with these late nights, because I can't think clearly. I'm tired, all of that. I have to, get another round of food or something in me to give me some energy. And so I think it's a game changer. This is my one suggestion for you guys. You wake up early, time shift it, give it a shot, and let me know if that works. All right, let me know if you guys have any suggestions when it comes to doing these things, and see if we can all share some positive ideas. So let me go ahead and check out some of the questions here. Great to see you guys, by the way. I'm thumbing through my thumbnail list here of people who are on this chat, and also reading the questions. So it's great to see everybody. I'm glad you can make it. So let's see, Little Sea Salt. How do we know the studio system will satisfy us if we've never been there? Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. Let me ask you a couple of key questions, my friends. Do you like getting paid? Right? Do you like consistent payment? Right? Do you like a steady paycheck where you know that on a monthly or weekly basis you're going to be covered? that's one question you should ask about the studio system. Do you like to work with people who have more experience than you, right? Because invariably you're going to work with a range of people. You're going to have directors who have many, let's say, decades of experience. You're also going to work with people who might be entry level and had just graduated school or something. And there's everybody in between. But what happens is you work with like-minded people and you end up making a lot of friends, and you might actually be inspired by these guys. Those are the positives. The other thing is that you're going to learn a discipline when it comes to the studio work method and the workflow. So you're going to learn pipeline. You're going to learn how to turn things in on time, how to hit your deadlines. You might even learn a couple techniques with drawing and that kind of stuff. It's an extension of learning, right? This is not just clocking in and clocking out. This is not the job where you go and you turn your brain off and you can, like, I don't know, serve coffee or attend a cash register or something like that. If you want to do that, you're in the wrong business, my friends. You have to go in excited to learn and solve problems and turn your brain on and get inspired creatively, with your creativity, and work with others who are also creative. And trust me, I think it's an experience that you should all try at one point in your career. There might be, some of you might be introverted or whatever, and regardless, I still think you got to get out of your turtle shell and go and meet people, because it will be, again, I really do think that kind of thing is also a game changer. You're going to build your network. You're going to meet inspiring and creative artists. You might even you meet people that have much more experience than you. And these might be some surprising things that you didn't realize. You go in there and the guy, you get these old timers who are so awesome because they've just been doing it so long. And you're just blown away. And that's happened many times in my career, and I didn't expect it. So there's also a way to be humble. Now, there are some, let's say, negatives in a studio system. You're working for others. You have to be diplomatic about the way that you're in there. You also have to watch the way that you say things, the way you act. So you got to be an adult. I would say you have to be a professional, right? Let's be pro about everything that we do. And so you got to look pro, you got to act pro, and you got to deliver like a professional. Okay. So those are all, I think I look at those as positives. But if you can't handle that adult stuff, maybe this business is not for you. I am one of those guys who I want to constantly learn and achieve better things. And by challenging myself, that's the way I'm going to do it. So if I get thrown in the fire with people who are way better than me and I got to keep up, that's something I look forward to. I'm really excited to do that. And, they might kick me around a little bit, but that's what I want, because eventually I'll be able to learn and get better and get to that level. So that's one I recommend you guys try it. The other benefit of this, there's many benefits, but I don't think there's that many negatives. I'll see if I can think of a couple. The other negatives would be like, or the other positives are you get paid, you build your network, you make friends, you're working on a cool project. I mean, come on. That's pretty awesome, okay? But let's talk about the negatives. You might have to wake up early, right? You might have to commute. You might have to sacrifice your time for a little bit of money if you want to work on your own things, but then you have to go to the office and work on somebody else's stuff. It's all a little bit of a trade-off. But if you're into this business because you like doing those kinds of things, you like filmmaking, you like working with others, that trade-off is not so bad, okay? So I hope I answered some of those questions there, or some of those doubts. Let me go to Omar Jones here. What's your thoughts on using Iclone to storyboard instead of drawing out the boards? Well, I don't know what that is, and so let me take a look, and I'll give you my first impression. 3D animation software. My friend, I'm going to tell, so I took like 2 seconds, I looked this up, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean. My thoughts on this one, Omar. I think as story guys, we are capable of being faster than any computer. We are capable of being faster than any 3D artist, putting together story ideas, and you should be able to conceptualize your things with just the tool of drawing and your hand-eye coordination to create art. So what's my thought in using Iclone? That might be an awesome program. It might be really fast. I don't know. I haven't used it before. But I would say your drawing skills have to be so tight that it's like John Henry, man. Like that guy, you know the story of John Henry, right? That guy could beat a steam engine because he was so badass putting in rail spikes, right? He's a steel driving man. So you got to be a storyboard drawing man. That's what you got to do, or woman. Okay, we're all inclusive here. So then, the point is that I see those things as crutches sometimes. Um, they might be good, they might solve your problem, but I don't see it as a replacement ever for drawing. There is so much life and expression and originality and speed of the ideas that you can put in drawings that I still have not seen any previous software, any 3D software replace. Okay, now yes, I'm biased, and I have seen some. I've used previs. I've done a lot of previs, so I think there are benefits to doing that. It just takes a long time, and you get good results, but it does take a long time. So I would always recommend to everybody out there that you continuously practice your drawing and you never let go of your traditional drawing skills ever, because that's what's going to continue to inspire you to create awesome work. Okay. Tim has got a great question here. Let me get to your question. I'm looking for a good classic movie scene to practice storyboarding. Any recommendations? Maybe some of you guys have some recommendations for Tim out here, but I got a couple classic ones, and it might be some that you haven't seen before. So there's certainly, I've mentioned Westerns on here before, so you might want to check out Once Upon a Time in the West by Sergio Leone, another great Sergio. And another one with Burt Lancaster, classic film called The Train. Check that one out. I really, really love the filmmaking of that film is just beautiful. The shots are awesome. It's a really well constructed film, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of the like film noir classics. The most famous ones that, at least the ones I like and I've seen, are the Orson Welles films like Citizen Kane and Touch of Evil. I just recently watched The Stranger again, and it's just, these are fun movies that what you want to do is you want to just freeze frame these guys and start drawing and taking some film reference from that. And then what you can do is take one of the scenes and do it in your own style. So there are many different exercises that you can do. Certainly, if you like a particular genre, I would go look up like the Oscar-winning films in the past 100 years, right, or however long there's been Oscars, and see which ones fall in your genre. So let's say going from 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s, right? Those are pretty classic. Even the 70s are now classics, right? And if you like gangster movies, go watch all the gangster movies that have won, let's say, awards or have been nominated for Oscars. That's a good place to start. Okay, so you got The Godfather in that stage. You got Goodfellas. You got the classic like what is it, Bonnie and Clyde. All of those are great, and there's even a modern one which I think you should all see that I saw recently called The Highwaymen with Kevin Costner, which is actually a great film. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go to Instagram here. So Shy Weekly, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Shy Weekly. What if I work on a studio that I'm really not enjoying the show? Maybe even holding back my skill. My friend, never, ever hold back your skill. Ever. Don't ever do that. No, wrong, bad. Don't do that. And the reason I say is that you should always put your all into everything you do. So if you're holding back your skill, it means you're not being challenged enough. That means you got to quit. That means you got to move on to something that is really going to push you. Okay? Because no matter if you're doing, I don't care if you're doing like what? Let me think of like Fred Flintstone and like the Flintstones back in the day, which is like total limited animation. You better put your heart and soul into that, okay? Because you only live once, and the work that you get, you may not get another chance to work on these things. So you have to do it. It's an artistic. It's like your professional pride should hurt if you're not giving your all on everything you do. Okay, I'll just say that. And yes, I'm bold and sometimes my truth hurts, but I got to say that. So if you're not enjoying the work that you're doing, and you're not into the show, this is where you have to have a backup. You got to save your money, and you got to be able to understand when it's time to exit, because there is a point where you go to work and you check out. You like mentally check out. It's not good for you. It's not good for the production, and it's not good for your network. It is really a terrible thing to do if you are not giving your all and really enjoying the work that you're doing. Because if it's just work, if you're just getting paid and it's like, you're just doing the minimum to get by, why are you there? It doesn't make any sense. I think you should, it might be because you gotta get a paycheck. You might need to work somewhere. Well, then that's where I would say save up some money, and then find a way to go on to another production that's really going to inspire you, and you're going to be much more refreshed and into that new type of work. Okay, um, because yeah, I've been there, and that's where you get burned out. That's where you start acting out. That's where you start doing things like you start like talking back to your coworkers and your directors and people that don't deserve that stuff. Maybe you work with a jerk, who knows, right? We've all had bosses that have different temperaments. Some are yellers, some are like, annoying, or micromanagers or whatever. Doesn't matter. You have to be a pro, and you have to get in there and do your work, be respectful of the production, and just really give your all. So my recommendation here is look hard at why you're there. And if you have the opportunity to build up a portfolio, build up some savings, and look for other jobs. There's plenty of other work out there, freelance, full-time, everything. Especially with Corona stuff, you can work remotely. So that's why. And when you're holding back your skill, man, life is way too short to ever stop learning. You have to continue. And so you want to be somewhere that's going to push you. In fact, I would argue too that this is an error that happens sometimes in a lot of studios. They don't see the potential, the human resource, and the potential that are in a lot of artists. And I think it's a really terrible waste. And you see people who might be really talented, but they're just like going through the motions every day. And I say you got to push these guys. You got to really give them a challenge so that they come and they really bring it, because you might unlock a lot of really creative potential from these people, and you might be one of those. So take a hard look at why you're doing the things you do. Okay. Anyway, there's my rant. Let me ask a few questions, man. This is awesome. We got a good discussion going on here. Avi, let's see. No apologies for being late. No big deal, my friend. Okay, due to COVID, studios have pivoted to allow more work from home. Do you think this is something that will shift how much work can be done remotely, especially for people who don't live in the Hollywood hub? So the question really is, do you think the whole Corona thing will shift how much work can be done remotely? Well, yeah. So think about this. I always made the argument that at a studio, there's a lot of distractions there too, because you got meetings, you got, there are, you might fool around with your coworkers and tell jokes. And there's a little bit of time wasting going on, even at the studio system. My argument was that at home, I didn't have any of those distractions, and I've set up an environment where I don't. Now that is all relative, because things for me have also changed, where now there's family life involved. So when I'm at home, I got to deal with family and stuff. Again, you might have pets, or you might have other responsibilities you got to take care of. And that way, your productivity may or may not go down. I always argue that the productivity would go up, because I'm not distracted by meetings that are useless. So if I'm not in a meeting, I can actually be producing work. And that way, I think it would boost productivity. So for all of you guys out there, let's do me a favor. If you're working at home because of COVID, and you get the opportunity to work at home, do as much work as possible. You should be like 2 or 3 times as productive as you were in the studio, so that these guys take a look and they say, wow, I can't believe how much you produced, versus here in the studio. You say, yeah, because you had me in like all these meetings all day long. I only had 3 hours of productive work. But at home, I'm concentrated. I can get this thing done. I'm in and out. And that way, you can prove to them that this remote working environment is doable. So the reason why I think that's so important is that it will unlock a lot of opportunities on many productions, so that they will allow remote work on things that could be highly confidential, or also having the opportunity for studios to do outreach to very talented people that they might not normally get because they're not in the LA area, right? I know many people that are just scattered all around Canada, New York, Europe, South America, whatever, and they, if they can work remotely and there's a secure way to exchange the production work, then there's no limit to what you can do. And that remote dream that I think we've had for a long time, distributed studio dream, I think will work. It's going to help because one, you also like take hours out of your commute every day. When I went to Skywalker Ranch, I commuted an hour both ways, 2 hours out of my day that I don't have to do anymore because I don't have to commute, right? Same thing when I was working in San Diego, I had to commute an hour. So I'm used to this whole commute thing. Again, an hour both ways. It's like that weighs down on you after a while. Okay. So anyway, hope that helps. Cool. Okay, let me get into some more of these questions that are popping up. Let me combine some of these questions. I think we're talking a lot about studios. So this is a good one from Ray's Art Journey. Do studios, and for me, smaller companies, more attracted to computer savvy artists or traditional storyboarders? I'm guessing your skill set has to truly wow them to get your foot in the door. Well, yeah, that's true. So I think what you're asking there is like traditional story artists versus computer savvy artists. Like, what are companies looking for? It depends really on the job requirements. I think nowadays, as a traditional storyboard artist, you also have to be computer savvy. There's no getting around that. You have to know your software. You got to know at least Photoshop backwards and forwards. You probably want to know Toon Boom. It's easy enough to learn Sketchbook and Procreate. Those are easy default ones. You also probably want to learn 3D. You want to learn how to use Maya. Maybe you want to use Blender. These are things that are going to help you. Okay, so that is those are things that could really make the difference and get you competitive to these studios. So that's really something you want to take a look at. So yeah, studio, there's like a base level of computer awareness that you have to have. If you don't know how to use computer or online stuff, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Okay. All right, Era Apache just uploaded to Dropbox. Thank you. Cool. So what she's talking about is what I mentioned at the beginning. If you guys missed that, we got Nick Sung coming up this weekend, and he's going to be a guest presenter and critique some of the work that's being done in the visual story course. What's the visual story course? We'll check it out. Put that up screen on Facebook and go to visualstorycourse.com and see what that's all about. This is going to be a live stream that we're going to do, so you guys are all going to see it, and we can post the replay. It's great to get a professional's opinion. I'll throw my 2 cents in there, but I really like Nick. He's great, and he's got a really beautiful drawing style and a lot of experience that we can all learn from. So that's something you guys want to check out. Okay. Distract, you're my buddy. He says you're the better, best mentor indeed. Thank you, my friend. I love those compliments. All right. So I think this is a good place to pause on that note. If you have any more questions, we'll bring it to these other live chats. I'll see if I can come back on Wednesday, and we'll have more of these, and we'll bounce off some more questions because I think there's a really good discussion starting up here, and I didn't want to stop it so quickly, but I got to bounce. And then, of course, come join us for that Nick Sung thing. If you don't know what we're talking about, check out the Facebook group. We got some info there. Come to Storyboard Art and sign up to our list, and you can see all of those email updates that come hit you. All right, my friends, stay inspired, stay busy, keep on learning, and show us some awesome storytelling. And we'll catch you next time. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.